As Grant would say, we are back.
We are back. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm good. We have received a internal memo that states from Grant that he apologizes that he can't be here today. He has got COVID. So he claims it's COVID, but we suspect that he might just be hungover after a very, very messy weekend. So no, but I think he's being serious. I think he's unwell, and we hope he gets better soon. Things just aren't the same without him.
Mate, you're proper soppy sometimes. I think he's just had I think he's just got stuck on an island somewhere, gone missing for an extra couple of days with the boys.
Yeah, I think the lack of grants, I think, is being made up for the fact that we're having a really interesting, dare I say it, second day in the market. Yesterday kicked off with a bang. We wanted to just kind of get a brief overview of what was happening in the markets before jumping into specifics. I know that you, as per usual, are pretty bullish normally, but you're feeling particularly bullish at the moment. What do you think's going down? What are your thoughts on what's happening in the market?
I think we're having a 5-day relief rally. I think because there is no news, or there's very limited news in America from the Fed this week, there's not really a huge amount that can move it to the downside. So if you're looking at the charts now, everything has started to move upwards very, very slowly. And depending on what you use, just your metrics of TA, it does look like things are going to be going up to their next level of resistance, whether it's, Bitcoin, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's S&P, NASDAQ, whatever it is, it does look like it is slowly making its way up there. But I also think that this is the part at which people can get in too late and be too confident, because they've seen potentially by Friday, 5 days of up, start opening up their longs. You've had 5 days of up, which only means one thing, in my opinion. That means the market makers are going to rip it down, so then they can then move it into whichever way they want. Because right now, the markets, it's a game, and it's a game of the market makers. It's the game of the market maker catching you out. It's the game of the market maker finding stop losses. It's hunting for liquidity. You can look at all of these charts, but probably the best chart, or one of the best things to actually look at, is something like the bookmap, or there's another one you can sign up to called hyblock. Now, hyblock's fantastic because it shows you where the liquidation is in the chart on all different exchanges. So, for example, on Binance, these are arbitrary numbers at the moment, but I will look into it a little bit later. But let's say at 20,000, right? That's a psychological barrier for Bitcoin. Let's just say there is $2 billion worth of liquidations waiting there. What do you think is going to happen? We're going to moonshoot to 20K. The moon boys are going to open their longs late, right as the shorts get liquidated at that point, for then the market maker to bring it right down. The market maker knows what's going on. They know where the liquidity is. They're hunting liquidity. That's it. If you want to have an edge in this market, you get the order book, you get the high block, you see where the liquidity is, you see where where the market maker's left his footprints in the charts, and then you can move to that. But I think we do have a few days of up 100%.
Yeah, I think you're being overly optimistic. I think we'll be lucky if we see anything past 3 days, and I think even then that's asking a lot. But let's see how it plays out. We can obviously check in on, our agreements or disagreement on Friday when we do our market update. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I wanted to just go through a couple of charts before we get on to specific news items. There's no denying it. There's definitely, there's definitely some good vibes in the market at the moment. I think the obvious thing is that, like you say, there's not that much potential bad news on the horizon. I wanted to ask you, because it's closer to home for you, what is the sentiment at the moment in the UK around the Bank of England and around, Liz Truss and what she's doing. And I mean, how do you think that plays out with, specifically the UK scenario?
Well, I don't think the British public are very happy at the moment, because you had old Kamikaze with their like mini budget meeting, which literally it screwed everything up. So it has created a little bit more worry and a little bit more fear and panic within just like the British public. And what I was watching the news yesterday, and what's crazy is, Liz Truss she's likely to be the shortest serving British Prime Minister, because now there's talks of like another general election, but then we have another general election that's even more money spent that the country doesn't have to then elect somebody else in that they might not actually want. But then I was thinking as well, like, if Liz Truss got through and she's now Prime Minister and she's absolutely useless, how bad were all of the other candidates that were trying to step in as Conservative leader? It doesn't bode well for that party. Then you got Keir Starmer. He's a right LARPer. So he's like LARPing on about how he's going to fix the country and how he's going to do this. It's like, mate, if Liz Truss can't do it, the chances of you doing it are very, very slim, because if you were to get into power and take the prime ministership off her, mate, you'd be left with even less money than what she's got right now. So you can say all this stuff, but your best bet as like the Labour leader right now is to just hush up, stum, and just let the Conservatives absolutely destroy themselves. I was saying to Mum, I was like, Mum, where are the Lib Dems? Like, these guys are supposed to be in the middle of everything. They're like neither left or right, because they're just straight down the middle of the road. They're liberal. And I'm like, are the Liberal Democrats even here? And it's just a massive, excuse the French here, but it's a massive shit show. It really is. And then the price of my corn on the cob, 2 weeks ago was 90p, right? It's now £1.19 for 2 corn on the cob. Inflation is hitting my basket of food quite hard. So it's, and like, there is, you can definitely feel like a little bit of concern, a little bit of worry. Mortgage rates, they said, might be having to spend an extra $5,000 on top. The energy bills gone up. I think Mum was saying it went up from like 8 pence per unit of energy up to 24 pence. So that's basically like a 3x, which is crazy. Hence why I'm in a hoodie with my hood up because I'm cold. You're on mute, dude.
I think obviously things aren't looking good in general from a macroeconomic perspective. But what do we know about macroeconomics? I mean, we don't know anything. Just for everyone out there, we just LARPing along. We're very open about that. I mean, there is no mistaking that there's a definitive correlation between the two. We know that for certain. You watch the SPX chart, next to the BTC chart, and it's they inversely correlate to one another. It's something to behold. You said that you wanted to look at the mini futures on the S&P 500. Essentially, this dude was in charge yesterday. I mean, it was quite amazing to see. We normally have a scenario where, the Dixie, which is the dollar index, kind of calls the shots. Well, it has been for weeks now. And then yesterday, for some bizarre reason, Dixie was doing its thing, but Bitcoin wasn't reacting. But Bitcoin was reacting to, the S&P 500. And I found that really interesting. I don't know if that's maybe in line with your bullish approach, that maybe we do have a longer term relief rally underway, like longer than 1 or 2 days and maybe 5. Maybe that's what's needed. I'm completely thumb sucking here. Let's see Friday again, whether there's merit in that wild assumption that I'm making.
Now, don't get me overly bullish. I think it's going to be very, very similar to last week, where Friday, and like you can see this anyway naturally, and it does just make sense. A lot of days in the charts, Friday is the day that people take profits. Let's just say you've had 4 good days of like up. it makes sense for it to then pull back on a Friday where people do take a lot of profits. Now, if we are looking at like the S&P on the daily, now I've got my chart because I've charted it a little bit differently. So we've had yesterday was green, today's green. It looks like we are going to be pushing up to about the 38.17 mark over the next day or so, which is kind of where a next port of, you know, like local resistance is. It's where, if you're looking at the daily, it's where the 800 EMA is. It's where the 50-day EMA is gonna come in, and depending on how you've done your fib lines, it's at the 0.382, which is always like the first test. So I think we're going to see that range on the S&P. And then at that point is where we'll see maybe a pullback, or if the markets can keep momentum, then we'll see it break through it. Then moving up to its just next checkpoint. But I think it's short. We should be looking at like short-term targets rather than like longer term. Because there was one dude the other week who was larping on S&P is going to 6,000. I'm like, bro, S&P ain't going to 6,000 anytime soon. And if it does, that's insane. Because do you know how much money needs to flow into the market to like hit 6,000 on the S&P? That's insane.
It's not going to happen.
That ain't happening this year, man.
No chance. I don't think we'll see that for a very long time to come.
No. I still think we need to go lower before we come up, because if you're looking at the charts, there is a slight imbalance still. The imbalance is between it's that 32 to 3,300 mark on the S&P.
Yeah, that's that mark there. That's 40% from where it is right now. 45%. Yeah.
That's where I think we need to go, because we had such an overextended rally to the upside that it does need time to calm down, And it's going to be super interesting to see how over the next I know I'm going on now.
6 months.
Over the next 3 to 4 weeks, because we've got the midterms coming up, right? The midterms are, I think it's the 8th to the 9th of November. Like, the Fed isn't going to want to make things look bad for that. But then will the bad news or the normal news of 75 basis points, will that be the catalyst for a rally? Because, you know, the market's expecting it now. It's like, yeah, we expect it. Great. Let's just crack on.
Yeah, I agree. 3 to 4 weeks, I think it's going to take longer than that. I was thinking more around the 3 to 4 months. But let's see how it plays out. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on at the moment. Tell me about this chart. It's not a chart that I'm very familiar with. I'm ignorant, and I'm not going to pretend that I know my thing. This is the NASDAQ, obviously the NASDAQ futures. Also very similar to the S&P, right?
Yeah, so basically you got ES1 exclamation point, which is the S&P futures. You got the MNQ1 exclamation point, which is the NASDAQ futures. And essentially these charts open basically like before trading. So you can kind of see what sentiment actually is going to be in the market before it actually opens. These go up, real markets will likely go up. So you can just, judge things off this.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously seen Bitcoin move quite positively this morning. I've got it on the 4 hour now. It had a really good run on the 4 hour before this. And it just seems like there's great momentum at the moment that's coming through on Bitcoin. And the rest of the market's following through. Obviously, I wanted to just also chat about the anomalies in the market. But before we do that, anomalies in the crypto market, I wanted you to chat about this chart. You spoke about it before we went on stream. Seeing as though we are primarily an education platform, and we put education out there, give us the idiot's guide to the US government bonds on the 10-year yield. What does this actually tell us? I mean, I'm just seeing up only here, and it has been up only since April. Really, what is going on here, and what does it mean?
So essentially, the bonds when that goes up, basically like the market's coming down. When the bonds percentage is going down, the market's going up. So you made a really interesting point earlier that the Dixie wasn't in control. Now, it would make sense that for the short term, the Dixie to not be in as much control, because what do we know? We know the dollar's strong. We know that is a fact, right? But what you're seeing is bonds go up and up and up. And it's just not good for the market, because the money flow is going into there rather than into the stocks, because you're getting more interest rate on your bonds. So you might as well just hold more than that. But what you will see is the market makers won't, and I can't remember what the in-depth explanation is of why, but you'll see that they won't let it go past 4%, because 4% is high for this anyway, because then that would likely mean that more money is going to flow into this. But the charts you want to watch are the bonds, the futures, the Dixie, and then USDT dominance. They're the ones you want to be looking for.
Look at the weekly chart on this. I mean, it's just up only, bro.
Yeah.
All it is. I mean, obviously it's a slow mover, but it's just, even the monthly. We're month 3
and you
now.
think Bitcoin's going to 30K? Come on, bro. Look at that.
Yeah, it's not going to 30K, not yet. Anyways, I mean, what's interesting, what I find really interesting about this is, from an idiot's perspective, is that, we've been so focused on, what crypto is, and primarily Bitcoin and then Ethereum. And, we haven't really been forced to be aware of what's going on outside of that reality. And now, obviously, over the last 6 months, particularly, especially since this war started in the Ukraine, we're being forced to look at things on a much bigger scale, obviously the macro scale of things. And, a lot of that stuff still hurts my brain. I mean, that's why we've had some really good shows on Blockmates with regards to bringing on, I mean, the last one we did with Matthew Pines was just insane. I mean, I hardly spoke throughout that interview. It was just like, I was just like, okay, so this is a very, very serious game that's being played at the moment, and it has far-reaching implications, a lot more far-reaching than we would have ever imagined in the context of, just a couple of shitcoins and making these crazy bets. We always knew that Bitcoin had this potential, but I didn't realize that it would come to the extent that we're seeing it now. It's just fascinating.
No, I'd agree with you there.
Okay, so the outliers, the freaks in the market right now. I mean, this one here, I didn't catch this. I haven't been anywhere near this thing. I mean, I've been watching a couple of the influencers talk about this thing over the last few weeks. Yeah, I mean, QNT Quant is just absolutely just shows you like things do happen in bear markets, and you just got to make sure that you're on the right side of it. And if you are, this is the benefit. I mean, look at the daily on this thing. I mean, this is parabolic bull markets ridiculousness.
That is just up and away.
Insane. I asked the question.
I was going to say, this is where, like, and I've done this, and I've made the mistake. It's someone that is like up like that you're going to think, right, I'm going to short it, because anything in this market that goes up like that, it's going to come down, right? But yeah, I've learned the hard way recently, like, and it's always, you just know, like, you don't fight the trend, right? If it's going to bounce off something and continue up, that's not a place to short it, because, I mean, look at this. This is an absolute ripper, dude. And you'd have thought at like what? 132 or 136, 138. It's like, look, I'm going to go short there. We're getting some we're getting some red candles in there. But what you have seen is like, you've got the red candle that goes down, then the green candle that goes straight up. That's a massive bullish sign. So if you wanted to like open something, you could have done it around that region, but that is just strong as anything. However, now,
So I asked the question on Twitter yesterday, is there anywhere that I can short QNT? And I didn't get a response. And then this morning, a pop-up comes up on Binance, mail came through that Binance will be releasing futures trading for QNT and your favorites that you've been chatting about recently. A month ago, you mentioned Sui and Aptos. Aptos launched or came online last night, US time. It dumped like a shitcoin. And they are, let's actually bring that Aptos chart up. It's worth seeing. Yeah, and they're basically saying that, listen, guys, we're going to allow you to short and long Aptos and Quant. So we're in for a treat.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
There's
dude.
going to be so much.
So I personally think Quant is going to be a great shorting opportunity. It will be probably one of the most overcrowded trades in the business. We can expect lots of short squeezes along the way down. Be safe, guys. I think it's going to get messy, but I think it's going to be one of those that will be an obvious trade from my perspective. I'm just trying to bring up a chart now for us to look at. Just give me a sec. I'm going to see this Aptos chart.
I'll tell you what, at the moment, there's some absolute coins ripping.
Yeah, so we'll go over those as well. I think a couple of guys would like to, get a perspective around that. Maybe not.
No one wants to hear about shit coins that they missed out on and missing out on printing six figures in space.
So this thing dumped, dude. I mean, check this out. So we're on the 15 here. Let's look at the 4 hour. 15, 1 hour. Because when I last looked at it, I was actually looking at it here. It was dumping, and now look at it. It's cooking. I mean, are we looking at the right Aptos here? No, this is proof of work. Sorry, man. My apologies.
I'd love to see what you see, because the way you look at like your screens, you're like sometimes in wonder.
No, it's I'm a boomer, bro. So like, this is the wrong chart. APT. No, it's not up, eh? I thought it would be up.
Bybit's listing it today at 12 p.m. UTC on the 18th of October. So today.
Okay, so that's later. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens in the next few days. But I think you guys must just keep an eye on Aptos. Dan, what's the story with Sui?
I haven't really looked too much into that. I think a lot of the noise has been around Aptos and then Berachain. But in my opinion, when it comes to Aptos, so we said it the other day, this is the battle of the Facebook developers using different versions of the Move language with big, strong VCs backing them. So it's going to be seriously interesting to see which of the two actually comes out on top. Like, yeah, devs from Facebook running both of them. So whoever's got the biggest brains with the best ecosystem, I think is going to be the one that dominates. But as for being a Solana killer, creating a blockchain in 12 weeks and then releasing it with big VC funds, would they kill Solana? No. Like, there's not enough money in the ecosystem right now for anything to kill off anything, any of these new boys. If a new boy were to kill something off, they would have to be so sensationally amazing with a lot of insider money pumping it to then bring all of like the degens and the 6 retail investors here over there. But I think a lot of people now in the current markets, they know what ecosystem they like. The Solana maxis, they like Solana, so they're going to stay there. The Ethereum maxi is going to stay there. The Binance ones, they've been forced to stay there. AVAX, they're confused, or they like video games. The Polkadot and Kusama maxis, they're over there because they like Gavin, and no, Gavin's a good guy, and they do some cool shit over there. You're on mute, dude.
Having a technical nightmare today. I think the big thing for us at the moment is to identify the projects that have the fundamentals like in order. They've got their fundamentals in order, they've got their cash flows in order, and they are continuing to build and innovate in the space. And it's not difficult. You just got to look around and see who's doing that and keep a close eye and watch how it all plays out when liquidity starts returning into the markets. It's not rocket science. It's just a question of who the players are and how they're conducting themselves. So I mean, I was just looking at this list of things that we've got for our discussion this morning, and like one of those ecosystems, and we've obviously chatted about this extensively in the past before, is Metis. Like Metis, guys 2 weeks ago were like, oh, Metis is dead, and it's yes, there was a lot of liquidity leaving the ecosystem, but all it takes is a narrative, and we chatted about this before the start of the stream, and it's all about narratives. What is the narrative right now for Metis? And that is that Aave is coming. Aave is coming. They're bringing all this cash with them. They've got cash in their back pocket, and they're going to put it on the table, and they're going to let people play their game of poker. I mean, let's face it, that's what's going on. And yes, it's a crude way of looking at it, but that's the way I see it. So Aave is on the way into Metis. We've been looking at this whole governance thing from the Blockmates perspective. We're going to be publishing an article around that soon. I find that the whole governance thing quite fascinating around what Vitalik proposed a very long time ago in terms of how governance should work, in this decentralized space. And I think Metis are, in my opinion, kind of at the forefront of the way that governance should look. I think, the DAO structure it's got problems, dude. Like as a DAO, if you're coming in with the majority of, the tokens and you voting on your own. I mean, it was illustrated perfectly with this whole Mango thing where the guy came and voted in favor of doing what he wanted to do because he held the majority of the tokens, and walked away with all that money. And I think the Metis governance model and what they're proposing is the future of the way that things should work in a decentralized space. So we're going to be publishing an article on that, which will be really interesting to kind of like dissect it. And then just in terms of the Metis ecosystem right now, Hermes and Hummus are the two protocols that are definitely benefiting off the back of, this news that Aave is coming in. I'm not really sure whether there's an opportunity to go in there and make some bets. We don't do financial advice, so I'm not too connected to what's happening there, but that might be worth a look. So if you guys are keen, open a chart and check it out. And then just back to narratives. I know this topic that you love the most is shitcoins. Tell us about the narratives that are floating around at the moment. I know that shit's absolutely going bananas.
Mate, shit. So like, I kind of like, I fumbled, and sometimes you like look at these charts and they're just going up so quickly that you should just phone win, but you get so paralyzed by like, oh my God, what is going on? Like the narrative in microcaps and shitcoins, it's been there for about 3 weeks. People have been printing 6 figures over the last few days. It has been absolutely insane to see. Now, the shitcoin space, it's all about narrative. It's all about, what is current, what is relevant, what is like the big topic, what has some reference. And I think the biggest one that, we can probably say on stream is, we saw Vitalik a couple of days ago mention the word the protocol. So some giga brain went and created the protocol, and it went from 0 to 5 mil extremely quickly. It then consolidated. The narrative was always going to be there. Then Vitalik made another tweet and a post about it. And then yesterday, he literally just moonshooted to about 21 million, which in this market is absolutely insane. And it's insane for the duration of time that it's actually been out, because they're not really, to my understanding, I don't believe they're creating any world bending tech. Like it's just a narrative play, and it's as simple as that. And you can see the amount of money that was flooding and just flying in. It's truly remarkable. It's truly remarkable. And there's only one other coin that I've seen in the microcap space that's hit over 100 mil recently, and it's could be the second one potentially. Obviously not financial advice. It is just a shit coin. Money disappears in shit coin as quickly as it does on a Friday night out in a pub.
Oh my goodness! I mean, essentially, it's we're looking at a $19 million market cap at the moment.
which is huge.
It's had a 392% over 24 hours. And absolutely, we do not provide financial advice. This is a sure way to get wrecked. I mean, you get involved in this at the wrong time.
Yeah.
You know, you are essentially rolling the dice. It's insane.
Dude, what's so annoying is like so I follow a lot of wallets, and there was two guys like long before this even pumped. Like I saw them, they bought and I thought, oh, it's a bit of a shit name. Like I'll just fade it. Then I went back and obviously saw the narrative coming. I went back and like checked their wallets again. Both of these dudes before this 20 mil pump was sitting on 6 figures. That's
insane.
That's like from like what $100 to $100,000 in 4 days.
Yeah, that's insane. Wow.
But ladies and gentlemen, remember that kind of thing does not happen often. If you want to see like a black or white swan event, that is it. The majority of shit coins that you put $100 in are probably either going to rug you or you're just going to get used as exit liquidity. That Correct. There is a freak of nature.
Yeah, I mean, and there's been quite a few of them. I mean, there's been a number of guys out there that have essentially set up businesses and Discords that are, you know, claiming to provide alpha within the context of these kind of players. I mean, I think, you know, there is, I mean, I'm not going to completely, you know, diss these guys, but you need to understand that if there's 100 people that are doing the same bet, you'll be lucky if you're one of those that are going to actually come out at the other side of it with profitability. So just know what you're getting yourself into. It's fun and games. You can have a lot of fun, but know that the chances of success are minimal. You know, for me, it doesn't work. You know, like once every 6 months, I try it and I always make the wrong decision, despite the fact that I'm fully aware of what the narratives are and the rest of it. I land up always overthinking it, overanalyzing it, and always making the wrong call. So I just stay away from it. It's just, it doesn't work for me. Whereas other guys, you know, like friends of ours in the space, you know, really good traders, you know, outside of the shitcoin space, you put them in front of a chart and they'll always make the right call. They'll make the right call most of the time. They're just killing it out there, you know. They're just really going out and just kicking ass.
It's been a crazy time in it.
Yeah. Okay, so what I found extremely interesting about, you know, a topic that's been, you know, very much at the forefront of the news over the last few months, and obviously quite a serious issue, is this guy and what happened with Luna. And I see that Binance have announced an interview, you know, with Laura Shin. She's a well-known commentator on the market. Not a big fan of hers, but you know, she gets the content out there, and kudos to her for getting an audience with this guy. You know, what is the nature of this interview going to be about? I'm very intrigued to find out. It's come from Binance. It's coming from her. You know, is this going to be like some kind of a dumbing down of what's happened? Is it going to be to put him in a favorable light? Is she going to ask him the hard questions? I've never seen her ask hard questions, like really questions that are going to put someone on their back foot, which is what he needs from my perspective anyways. It's going to be interesting to see what the result of this interview is going to be.
But why would CZ want to put Do Kwon in a good spotlight? Why would he want to be giving like this dude who completely wrecked the space is like a contagion and a parasite? Like, why would CZ want to give him good light? What's the benefit?
Well, that's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, there could be speculatory answers to that. Speculation being that, you know, CZ and Binance were heavily invested in Luna, and you know, they'd like to see some kind of a return on that investment. To what extent they were invested, I don't entirely know, and I think any information that is out there would be completely hearsay anyways. I don't think there is any official information, and if there is, please, you know, if there is any official information around Binance's involvement from on-chain data, please can you guys post it below this video? I'm really intrigued to know that. But maybe that's why CZ wants to maybe try and recover some of that investment. You know, they've done with Lunar Classic. You know, they've tried to put Lunar Classic from a Binance perspective in a favorable light. What have they done to do that while burning, you know, fees, trying to show some kind of commitment to the project? Well, not some kind. They're committed to the project. They're showing that by their deeds. So maybe this is another attempt to try and, you know, like make it look a lot better than it is, you know, in inverted commas. I don't know, dude. I mean, it really, we'll find out in due course. This interview is going to air later on today, or is it tomorrow? Let me just check.
What time?
On the 18th, so it'll be later. It'll be later today.
Do you know what time? Say.
Do Kwon was announced to officially appear Unchained podcast October the 18th. It doesn't say when.
Mate, that picture, scroll up a sec.
This one.
That picture, mate, that is just going to piss everyone off because you got that guy there smiling at you for everything he's done. That's going to really annoy people.
Well, he's smiling here.
And that. And her. Mate, she's pissing me off.
Anyway, so, you know, let's see what comes out of it. I think, you know, it really is relevant. It's a very relevant thing, this whole Luna thing. It's going to set the precedent for a lot of what's going to happen in crypto in the next few years. Trust me, Luna and what happened to Luna is it's going to be the bedrock of how things are going to be dealt with around regulation, around what you're allowed to do and how you're allowed to do it. And it's just going to be fascinating to see how it plays out in the coming months. And we've got ringside seats to it. So yeah, let's see what happens. You know, obviously the other regulatory conversation is Sam Bankman-Fried is under investigation by the Texas regulators, I believe. They've come forward and said, listen, we are suspicious of some of the yield bearing opportunities that you're offering on FTX, and we are suspecting that they might be securities. So yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting. I mean, not really sure whether Sam and FTX particularly are going to be doing stuff in the space that they haven't consulted they've probably got a football team of attorneys and lawyers behind what it is that they're doing. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. So it's the FTX US division, obviously, that they're looking at. You know, what are you guys doing? What's the story? We don't like it. You know, and I'm sure the fact that, you know, we've commented on the stream before, you know, remember he you know, the last 3 weeks, I think there's been three posts that he's made where he's buying a whole lot of FTT tokens, which is obviously the FTX token, and letting everyone know, listen, this is not financial advice, but I'm about to buy $3.5 million worth of FTT tokens. So maybe that also comes up, you know. So, you know, just another day in crypto, I suppose. And, you know, Sam's now in the news, but we know that Sam's very pro-regulation. So, you know, maybe this is also an opportunity for, you know, that regulatory momentum to continue and for the momentum to build up. And because we know that the only way that the space, or the Americans especially, are going to be happy with crypto is once they're regulating and taxing everyone to death. And that's coming.
And what better way to do it than one of the people who is most favorable for regulation? So if FTX comes under the spotlight and Sam's like, yeah, sure, it was a security, let's make these changes, and he's the one that almost suggests the changes that
100%.
government can agree to, you've now got the poster boy of like crypto being like, hey guys, regulation's good, pay your taxes, do your dues, I'm Sam. Like that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely in line with that. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing from a momentum perspective, but, you know, obviously, you know, your bad actors within government are going to come to the fore. They are going to, you know, I mean, I think Senator Elizabeth Warren's one of them. You know, that's, you know, she's obviously very pro the banks and, you know, what it is that they are wanting in the space, and that's part of it. You know, that's part of the finding where the balance is. You always need the extreme views so that you can arrive, hopefully, at a balance. I'm bullish from that perspective. I'm not too much of a pessimist, even though that ultimately it comes down to people, or rather governments, getting their tax money. I think that's, at the end of the day, I'm of the opinion that's all they really care about. They don't care about anything else. They just want to make sure that they get their pound of flesh, and they'll do what it takes to get to that point. In terms of crypto threatening banks and all that kind of stuff, that's a different conversation. We could have that conversation with 20 shows, 20 streams post this one. But yeah. Anyways, any other topics that we want to cover? Anything else on your radar that you've been interested in that you'd like to chat about, or do you want to wrap it?
I guess the only thing I'll bring up is what we spoke about in the newsletter yesterday. So the newsletter we released yesterday, it's all about whale hunting season, and it is whale hunting season now because Christmas is coming up, and if you're like me, you've got loads of presents and a family dinner to pay for, right? So you want to get an edge on the market. You want to find out the narrative. You want to find out where smart money, insider money, big money is going, right? So if you look at the newsletter, we break down a little mini how-to guide on how to find the right charts, how to track the right wallets, how to find the right wallets, and what the right wallet looks like. And right now is probably the most important time to do it because liquidity is thin, and if you can jump or get a head start on everybody, even if it's just like 2 or 3 minutes, I can promise you'll be in a much better position when you can say when the bull run comes, but you just be in a much better position leading into like the next cycle, whether it's a bear market rally or whether it's a pullback. You can see trends, and yes, it's boring. It's boring as shit. Like sitting through a contract, looking through charts, looking through people's wallets when a lot of them are shit. It's boring. But if you get 10 that are golden, you'll thank yourself for it.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed that newsletter from an alpha perspective, because it really does give you essentially the passport to finding the inside edge at the moment, because that's what this is, right? It's like, how do you get an edge? Like, I mean, and we've chatted about, you and I have chatted about this before. It's like, what do you like, Jedi, what are you doing? I'm not doing anything, bro. I don't have an edge. I don't have an edge right now. I don't see how I can beat, like anyone out there at the moment, I just can't see how I can outtrade them or outsmart them. But what you did with that newsletter is that you really presented an opportunity for somebody to find an edge through their own, it's not even like there isn't like this hard and fast way of doing it. It's just like, okay, well, I'll get a whole lot of wallets, and that on its own is like, like you could find an NFT play, whatever the case might be, and you might land up being in a situation where you are finding a unique wallet that nobody is looking at. That this dude is making money, and all you're doing is that you're copy trading them, or you're getting in before everybody else does because they made a purchase. And it's such a straightforward thing, but like you said, it's boring as fuck. You got to put the work in. But guess what, guys? It's we're in a market right now where the real test is out there. In a bull market, everyone's a genius, and in a bear market, you've got to find your genius. You got to find what your edge is, and if you don't have one, that's fine as well. Then go and research, go and find the longer term players. What am I doing? I'm finding little edges in running longs and shorts. It's working for me. I'm actually net positive. I've made a ton of mistakes. I mean, I remember, once again, I bring up Cred. Cred has been my favorite, markets, understanding the markets and how to play them. He's got hundreds of hours of videos on his YouTube channel where he actually goes through the fundamentals of trading. And one of the things that he speaks about all the time is that just make sure you survive. Make sure that you don't make sure the dynamite doesn't blow up in your face where you left without your head and you've got nothing left. Just make sure that you've always got something left. Make your mistakes, learn from your mistakes. And that's what I've been doing. I've been making a shit ton of mistakes, making the wrong calls, reading the trend wrong, but never overbet. Never go in there with money that you can't afford to lose. and it's working. It's kind of like I'm understanding, how to like the risk management is key. It always has been. But even more so when you're running longs and shorts. Even if you're running 3x leverage longs and shorts, you're still at risk of getting liquidated, and you've got to manage accordingly. I started out by doing $10 bets, at 3x leverage. I mean, that's nothing, and it doesn't matter if you lose it, but it does when you do, because you kind of like testing yourself and you're testing your mindset, and learned a lot doing that. So if you guys are looking at following that path, go and do some cred research. The man is an absolute freaking genius, and don't get caught with the dynamite in your hands and blow your head off. That's key, and just play around. Play around $5, dude. Place a $5 bet on an ETH long when you think there's continuation in the long. See how it works out. Put in profit points along the way up. Like, profit levels are key. You don't just do once off or market sell. Put in those levels, have your plan, put it into action. There's a whole lot of rules. Go and watch those cred videos. Anyways, I'm having a bit of a ramble. I think we've spoken enough. One more thing. Arbitrum. Arbitrum's really been interesting. I've been loving what's happening on Arbitrum at the moment. We spoke about Arbitrum season several weeks ago. Granted, an amazing thread on Arbitrum. We actually just been really impressed with what these guys have been doing. And they did a little campaign on Twitter at the moment. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Go check it out. It's just like a repost around Arbitrum. It's in motion at the moment. And there's some, dude, the darling projects at the moment in the market, there's a whole lot of them. GMX. I really love Handlefire, what those guys have done. We're actually going to do an article on Handlefire as well in terms of the Forex trading. Their app is just absolutely gorgeous, on-chain Forex trading. These guys have really, really just kicked ass. And there's a whole lot of these projects on Arby. The guys are, it's a whale. They call it the whale, the whale chain, but you know what? It's more than just whales. It's good tech. The guys are on it. They're doing good stuff. I wish we had got involved in this little marketing campaign of theirs that they're doing right now. It would have been so much fun. Anyways, maybe we still can. Let's see.
Oh, I've got a sneaky suspicion we might be able to.
Yeah, just love their vibe. Just that's all I can say. Cool. That's it for now. Anything else, Dan? Are we done?
No, that is a wrap.
Yeah, don't forget, guys, like and subscribe. Give us a little bit of love so we can continue doing this stuff. And don't forget to sub to our newsletter. We've also got an Instagram channel out. We're going to start putting some stuff out. Well, we already have started putting some stuff out there. And don't forget, all our YouTube streams we put on podcasts, so you can go and listen to them on Spotify when you're in the car. Take it easy out there. Stay safe. Don't get caught with the dynamite in your hands. Sweet.